So this game looked like it was going to be a snooze fest. Through 2 periods, the Habs were out shooting the Nashville Predators 16-12, and they were down a goal. Then we had to crack out the defibrillator because lo and behold, the Canadiens just absolutely turned it up, scoring late goals. And once again, it's Cole Caufield scoring in overtime. The Canadiens coming away with a 3-2 win over the Nashville Predators. And I have a heart condition, so let's talk some puck. Do I sound excited? I mean, for 2 periods, it was a snooze fest. The Nashville Predators put everybody to sleep, including the Montreal Canadiens. But then late in the 3rd period, Montreal, after going down 2-1, decided, let's turn it up a notch, scoring with 20 seconds left, and then in overtime to come away with a 3-2 overtime victory. Before we get to the highlights, let's talk about our partners, starting with Instacustoms. They're your number 1 destination for custom apparel printing. Rated the highest print shop in Canada with over 3,000 Google reviews and a 4.9 star rating. They print on all your favorite clothing, t-shirts, hoodies, polos, hats, beanies, tote bags, even coffee and travel mugs, and yes, they even offer embroidery. Most orders are printed and shipped the very same day, and large orders in less than 3 days with free shipping. They're open 7 days a week and located on Stanley Street in downtown Montreal. Easy to remember as it ties in with the Habs' ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup. So whether it's for yourself, a loved one, or your business, trust Instacustoms. Visit them in person or order online at instacustoms.com. And when it comes to the holiday season, which is right around the corner, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Whether I go out and I order, the custom PuckTalk Montreal merch or a few joke t-shirts here and there to kind of embarrass my family because it's kind of what we do at Christmas. That's where I'm going to go, instacustoms.com. You can't go wrong. The quality's fantastic. Now, let's go ahead and look at the highlights. Not much happening in the 1st period, but in the 2nd, on the power play, the Nashville Predators strike first. 11:36 into the 2nd period. It was Steven Stamkos putting in a shot off the skate of Guhle to make it 1-0 for the Predators. That's where it stood until 6:02, as you see it again there, right off the skate of Guhle and into the net. That's where it stayed until 6:02 of the 3rd period, where Oliver Kapanen scored from right in front of the net, untouched by anybody from the Nashville Predators. Kapanen standing at the front, Hutson getting a shot towards the net, and Kapanen 1 whack, 2 whacks, and the game's tied 1-1. And here it is again. Take a look. 3 Predators in front of the net. Not one of them goes near him. Kind of funny when you think back to the hockey back in the 80s and 90s where guys like Mario Lemieux used to get the stick right in the small of the back when they were that close to the net, right? Well, things have changed, right? Kapanen getting the tying goal. Then it was all about Jakub Dobeš, the good and the not so good. We had one instance where he made a great save here sliding across, and then funny bounce out of the corner, and luckily Jaden Struble and Lane Hutson were there to clear the puck away. So the game stayed 1-1 until about the 11:21 mark of the 3rd period, where Nick Perbix came across the blue line and ripped a shot under the blocker of Jakub Dobeš to make it 2-1 for the Preds. And it's a quality shot. Very similar to the one the Habs scored on against Stolars in the season opener against Toronto. So that's where we stood. Habs pulled the goaltender. Less than a minute left, and you thought, this game's over, right? You would be wrong. It starts with a hell of a save by Lane Hutson and leads to who else but Cole Caufield getting the pass from Hutson right here, coming across the blue line and ripping a shot past Saros. That ties the game at 2 with just 20 seconds left. Here it is again. Long pass, Caufield, rip, scores. So we go into overtime. And again, looks like the game's going to an end. The puck goes over to the far side. It's pinned to the boards. It looks like they're going to run out the clock and go to a shootout. You're wrong. In comes Nick Suzuki to take the puck away from everybody that's there. He skates it along the goal line and then whoop, past to Caufield, and he scores. That's the winner. Game over. And here's the thing. Just before that, the Predators had a 2-on-0 opportunity, and Jakub Dobeš made a hell of a save, and there was a hell of a back check as well on from Lane Hutson as Philip Forsberg was coming in. And there's the save. And the game remained in overtime at that point. Huge save by Dobish to save the game. And then, of course, Caufield scoring in overtime. So the Habs, where does that leave them? Well, they're 4-1 on the season now with 2 straight overtime victories and going into a game on Saturday against the New York Rangers. For that, let's talk about our other partner, and that is cheapesttshirts.ca. Proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers, cheapesttshirts.ca delivers unbeatable value. You'll always get the lowest prices plus same-day shipping, even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. With over 1,000 products to choose from, their selection is unmatched. Cheapesttshirts.ca is the go-to source for businesses, events, apparel printing companies, and resellers, or people just wanting the best deals on everyday clothing. Plus, get free shipping on large orders on a simple, easy-to-use website that makes ordering online a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. So what's there to look at? Well, for those of you that saw the preview show yesterday, I mentioned that UC Saros is extremely strong down low. And the one thing, despite the fact that the Montreal Canadiens got over 30 shots in regulation, a lot of those shots were not targeted towards the upper part of the net. They were down low towards his pads. And Saros is among the best in the league, a Vezina finalist a few years ago, at kicking his legs out and covering the bottom of the net. Despite the fact that he's 5'11", he plays very big. He's very good at scoping in and out of his net, taking up a lot of space and stopping pucks, especially in his butterfly. His butterfly is about as solid as they come. And so Saros kept the Predators in this game quite a bit as the Canadiens pressured and they just couldn't get any pucks by him. Of course, the rebound goal by Kapanen was one that, it needed a couple of shots on goal. And the second rebound is where Saros tried to move a little bit and Kapanen put it in between his legs as a 5-hole opened up to tie the hockey game at 1. But on the Stamkos goal, on the penalty kill for the Montreal Canadiens, I noticed something. And I don't know whether or not you got to look at this, but I saw it. And it kind of goes towards teaching the penalty kill. Now, I've gone through this before in other shows, but I want to show you this so that you understand where I'm getting at. The puck was on the left side of your screen as I bring us this graphic. I'm going to call that the strong side. Steven Stamkos is on the opposite side. That's the weak side of the ice because the puck's not there. So when you take a look, right, you can barely see Stamkos there, but look at the Montreal Canadiens. They're not in their diamond. In fact, the guy in the middle there on the screen is King Guhle. And as the puck gets back to Josi before he feeds it over to Stamkos, there's 2 things I noticed here. Number one, you've got Guhle way too high with a player down low who's an option for Josi. Yosi's got a lane to pass that puck to him. And then, of course, Yosi's got his option to go over to Stamkos, who is always in his office over there. Then that's one screenshot that I got on that goal. Here's the second one. When you take a look at where Guhle is here, he's looking at the puck and he's looking at Stamkos. He still hasn't established position on the guy down low near the net. Now, the thing about this play as it went on, right, is that you could see that Jakub Dobish recognized that Stamkos was at the dot ready for a one-timer, and if the puck went back to the point, that is where he would have to go over to. He was square to Stamkos when Stamkos took that shot. The only reason it got by him because Guhle broke Rule 101 of defending, that when you're going towards the front of the net, the last thing you want to do as you're coming in is try to block a shot as you're sliding towards your net, because then you create some unpredictability. What should have happened here for Guhle is, as opposed to looking at the puck, in the previous image, he should have done a shoulder check to see what's going on in front of his net, because that's his responsibility here. Evans, who's on the right side here, his responsibility is to get over to the weak side and cover Stamkos as quickly as possible. The other 2 players in perfect position. I think the guy on top is actually Anderson, and I would be remiss to remember who the guy was on the left-hand side of that image. But everybody else is in the proper position with the exception of Guhle here. And then, of course, here, again, Guhle is not down low covering the guy near the front of the net on the back door. That's where he should be. If he would have done a quick shoulder check over his right shoulder, he would have seen the guy who would have realized, okay, I'm going to give the shot, whether it comes from the point or whether it comes from the flank on the weak side, and I'll let Doby handle it. And I'll take care of the guy at the front of the net. So if Doby makes a save, there's no chance for him to cover the rebound. Instead, Guhle decided to try to block the shot. He slid in, it went off his skate, and it beat Dobeš under the glove, a deflection that the goalie just couldn't stop. That's one of those things that is going to be visited in the video room. Something that Marty St. Louis is going to sit down with Guhle and go over, because Guhle, admittedly tonight, did not have a good defensive game. We saw him give away the puck very often. He got moved from playing with Hutson to play with Carrier, and then Struble was put with Hutson. The reasoning behind that, I guess it's because Guhle wasn't having a strong game, and they wanted to give him a little bit more of a defensive presence there in Carrier. Understood. So, no problem with that move by Marty St. Louis. The other part of this game, again, comes down to the fact that we mentioned in the preview show that one of the things that the Nashville Predators do is they don't skate extremely well. They're not extremely fast. They're a positionally sound team. And I didn't mention it in the preview show, but I should have. They like to cycle you to death. Why? Because Andrew Brunette is a student of Jacques Lemaire hockey. He played under Lemaire with the Minnesota Wild. And he knows all too well that when you have a team, especially an older team, as I mentioned last show, like the Nashville Predators, whose top players are all in their 30s, you want to play a style of play that's conducive to their inability to actually match the opposition stride for stride. They did that almost perfectly tonight against the Canadiens, right? They did not allow the Canadiens a lot of transition opportunities. They did not allow the Canadiens very many second chance opportunities. And at every stage, they were able to get the puck out rather easily. The other thing that they did against the Habs, which pissed me off all too much, is the fact that when the Canadiens had the puck in their defensive zone, and it didn't matter who the defenseman was, the Nashville Predators were able to pressure the puck carrier and force bad plays from the defense. We saw giveaways from Mike Matheson. We saw giveaways that were uncharacteristic by Noah Dobson. I mean, so there's a lot to be talked about there. Noah Dobson hasn't been giving away the puck to start this season, but the pressure on him forced him to move the puck sooner than he wanted to, forcing him to give it away. And that happened to everybody. Carrier, another victim of that. Guhle, more than once. So these are things that the Canadiens have to recognize. You need to make sure that your defensemen are quicker to get to the puck and that they have the ability to get the puck out of the zone quickly. Another thing that I mentioned before that I saw in this game is that the forwards are not coming back far enough to be able to get a clean breakout when the Canadiens had possession of the puck. That's called jumping the zone. The Canadiens cannot afford to do that, especially against a team that forechecks as well as the Nashville Predators. So what do the Predators do? Well, they put the puck down in the corner and they cycle three guys on the puck. And the saying goes that the cycle is where hockey games go to die. And that's why this game through two periods was so boring, because that's all Nashville did. They put the pucks down low. They cycled the puck. They didn't get a lot of shots on goal, but what they did get them, they got them from quality areas, and it forced the Canadiens to make defensive plays, giving up a couple of goals. Not to say that Jakub Dobeš played poorly. The Pendrix goal, he should have been able to, the Perbix goal, he should have been able to stop. But another shot that was precise under the blocker. It is what it is, right? We saw it with Stolarz, who's one of the better goalies in the league. We saw it tonight with Dobeš. Not going to fault him on it because positionally he was fine, right? And the first goal, obviously, because of the deflection in front, you're not going to give the goaltender any grief. But you are going to give a lot of credit to UC Saros because he is the only reason why the Nashville Predators were in this hockey game for as long as they were. And that's the way they're going to be all season, right? Their wins and the one overtime loss they had previous to this game was all because Saros stood on his head. It was the same tonight. He played extremely well in goal, stopping 28 to 30 shots in regulation. And so that's where the Nashville Predators live and die. They live and die on forechecking you to death, cycling you to death, and getting good goaltending from UC Saros. It's pretty simple. So the Canadiens needed to be faster on their skates. They needed to be better in transition. But instead of taking the mid-ice lane, they decided to use their transition going to the outside, and that allowed the Nashville D and their forwards to get back and cut off any dangerous opportunities they may have had. But at the end of the day, the Canadiens managed to pull it off. How is that? It's will. It's not skill, right? Okay, you could say there's a little bit of skill involved because of the finish, but it's the will to win. No, the fact that Hutson stopped that puck in regulation on Marchessault and stopped that on the empty net and then moved the puck just that fast down the ice. It caught Nashville completely off guard. Getting back to what I was talking about with transition. Instead of waiting for Nashville to come in on the forecheck, move the puck quick. Hutson did that. Got it up to Caufield. Caufield across the blue line to the top of the circle. Rips it by Saros. Another guy who I thought wasn't really prepared for the shot. His angle was off. He wasn't out far enough. And the shot beat him to the blocker's side. You don't really see that many goals beat Saros to the short side. And Caufield ties it. And then the overtime winner, I mean, it's like Caufield said as he was talking to Mark Denis at the end of the game. You play to the whistle. The whistle hasn't blown. 8 seconds left when Nick Suzuki went into the corner to get the puck. Comes out to the front of the net and faked everybody out, including the defenseman and Saros, giving it to Caufield in the slot and Caufield ripping it home for the overtime winner. My heart's still pounding. It was that exciting a hockey game, but still not perfect. The Canadiens still have a lot of work to do. They need to shore up their game defensively. They need to get used to moving the puck a little bit quicker, and they need to recognize when a team is going to forecheck as hard as Nashville does, they need to take a split second to move the puck faster. It's as simple as that. The other thing, as I pointed out when it came to Guhle on the penalty kill, when there's an extra man on the ice, you got to have your head on a swivel. You got to recognize that, hey, I'm up a little bit too high as a defenseman. I need to turn around and see what's going on in front of the net, and if I need to get back. That's not what Guhle did. He watched the puck, it got over to Stamkos, and then he tried to make up for it. That led to the goal. There are small little adjustments that need to be made. Overall, the Canadiens getting 30 shots was great. They did fall a little short when it came to faceoffs tonight. That's another thing that Nashville does extremely well. Their centermen, led by Ryan O'Reilly, are among the best in the league when it comes to winning faceoffs. If I remember, I think the Canadiens were somewhere around 43% tonight. So they need to be better there again. Not as putrid as it was to start the season against Toronto, but anytime you're under 50%, that needs to improve. And so let's look ahead a little bit. Don't want to look too far ahead as far as the previous show is concerned because I got to go a little bit more in depth. I was hoping, or you know what? Let's just say this. If this game was in New York, oh my God, I would be predicting a Canadiens victory right here, right now, because up until this point, the New York Rangers have not scored a goal at MSG. Fans are not liking what they see from the New York Rangers. And Chris Drury is in the hot seat right now. His team is not playing well. And considering they just hired Mike Sullivan, I'm not going to turn around and say that this is Mike Sullivan's fault. But oftentimes when teams play this poorly, it's a reflection of what they think of their management group. Right? We've seen teams turn it off when it comes to their GMs or their coaches. In most cases, when a coach is there too long, you say he lost the room. You can't really say that about Mike Sullivan, yet he just moved over there from the Pittsburgh Penguins. So give him a chance. But holy hell, are the Rangers playing garbage hockey right now. And my poor friend Paul Cuthbert, who's a lifelong Rangers fan, he's even resorted to cheering for the Islanders. So, what does that mean for the New York Rangers? They're going to come into Montreal. And, this is a team that allowed Chris Kreider to leave. Kreider was their best goal scorer last year. They're depending on guys like Mika Zibanejad and Alexis Lafreniere to lead the charge. And unfortunately, I called this when Lafreniere was still in junior. He's a skilled player, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have the character to be able to lead a team. The same can be said for Mika Zibanejad. Zibanejad can be opportunistic when he needs to be and score goals, and he's got a lot of skill, but he's not a leader. So what are the Rangers supposed to do against a team like the Montreal Canadiens? The Habs can match them speed for speed. The Habs have more depth on their lines. Who knows? I'm going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb and take a look at the Rangers tomorrow and come back to you with another show that's going to preview Saturday night's game. But I'm not expecting much from the Rangers. Other than their goaltender, Igor Shesterkin, what do they really have going for them? This. And it's unfortunate. You want to see the Rangers do well. right? You want to see the New York teams do well, both of them. Now, the Islanders and the Rangers, they're both hot garbage. But the Rangers especially, the boys in blue need to do better than they are right now. So I'm going to take a look at their games. I'm going to go through the video, and then in tomorrow's show, I'll come up with a preview, and I'll show you exactly what the Canadiens need to do to beat them. Chances are it's not much because right now the Rangers are beating themselves more than they're beating their opponents, and that's saying a lot. Thanks to our partners Insta Customs and cheapesttshirts.ca for sponsoring the shows. And as always, make sure you like the videos, subscribe to our channel if you're watching, if you haven't already, and hit that little notification bell for more news as we move forward. One last thing I want to say before we end this show. A few days ago, the Montreal Canadiens played the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks captain, Nick Foligno, is going through something really harrowing right now. His daughter has a congenital heart condition, and he's left the Blackhawks to be with his family. Things not looking too good right now for the Foligno family, so they're going to be in my prayers. They should be in yours as well. Hockey's one big fraternity. I learned that a long time ago. And no matter who it is, whether it's a team you hate or a team you love, when it comes to family, it always comes first. And hockey is just that, one big family. So to Nick Foligno and his family, and especially his daughter, we're thinking of you. You're in our prayers, and hopefully things turn out well. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow night.